Welcome to Real Talk Episode 4. I'm Brian Rose, and yes, this is London Real Studios. Usually you would see me here speaking with an epic guest for 2, sometimes 3 hours. If Dorian Yates wants to talk that long, that's fine with me. But this is Real Talk, where I answer your questions live and on the fly. I've gotten these from Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and from our London Real Academy. So if you want to ask one, you can go on there right now and hit me up. It's been a crazy day, to say the least, here in what's been a crazy week. I've been bouncing off the walls here, probably a little overstressed, driving the rest of the team, I was about to say crazy, but crazier than normal, because we were preparing today for a new format for London Real that we call a moving conversation, and we were honored, really, and privileged to have our first one today with Mr. Ido Portal, who is the movement expert from Israel, who just spent a week in Dublin, Ireland with the UFC champion, Conor McGregor, and it was just amazing. We met at Hyde Park at the Achilles statue that we chose specifically because Achilles is half God, half man, and I believe that Ido Portal is 100% God. And so we started there and walked through some historic monuments, past Buckingham Palace into St. James Park, Green Park, and we talked while we walked. And it was just the perfect format for Ido because he's such a mover. We really needed to get him out of the studio. And once you start walking and talking, it's amazing how the human conversation flows. It's how I do some of my best talks with my good friends. It's how Steve Jobs used to have great business conversations. It's how Mark Zuckerberg finally paid $19 billion for WhatsApp, was on a walk. So I encourage that format for people talking, and we had a great one today with Ido. We also almost got arrested twice. I was dealing with police. We were dealing with problems and drama, but it was a great way to get to know the art of improvisation because we planned this down to the letter. Luis put a 4-page document together that I will post on London Real Academy that had the call times, the exact shot list, pictures of us on the scene, and it's a great way to get the entire team, which I think was 5 people today. Amazing group of people, awesome help from Pau, Richard, Andre on sound, James Black. It was great. But to get everybody on the same page and also to get the person that you're filming to show them that you know what you're doing and you're serious. And I forwarded that document to Ido a few days ago, and it's just nice to show him that we're really taking this seriously. And we had high winds today in London, but I think we pulled the audio off because we planned really well, and then we just really went with the flow today. So can't wait to show you that. We talk about Ido. He's off to America. What he's learned from Conor McGregor, what it was like teaching him. He spent time with Michael Venom Page in London, and I just felt like I was connecting with Ido in a different way. So super special. I'll talk a little bit about that later. A few more things just to catch up, and then I'll get to the questions. We had the musician Imogen Heap in here yesterday. She is an amazing musician with an incredible history of producing music on her own terms. She self-published her own album in 2005. She's been blogging and vlogging since the beginning. She's created these gloves called Mimu, where she can actually control sound with her hands. So she's actually a hardware CEO as well. And she's also created a new idea called Mycelia, which allows musicians to be paid for their music. And she was here, but I just posted a page in our private Facebook group for the Academy. And it was an email I just fished out about 20 minutes ago with our first contact to Imogen. And it was one of our interns at the time. And they sent it April 25th, 2014. So if you do the math, that's 19 months ago that we made contact with Imogen. And we got no's up until yesterday where we got yes. And Imogen's no joke. She's got 2 million Twitter followers. She's a very popular, very busy, very important person when it comes to technology and music, and we finally got her to sit down. And I wish I could tell you that that was abnormal, but if I look at some of the times it's taken us, it's taken a year sometimes, 2 years until you make contact. I'm thinking of names like Graham Hancock, Ryan Holiday, and we just persist. and we're patient. So if that's anything to take away from London Real this week, it's just that you have to align what you want and then just stay at it. We also had to improve our product, and probably improving our set, improving our look, our profile, our professionalism finally got us to where Imogen and her people were like, okay, it's actually worth our time to come over and talk to you. So just a good moment. I'm not one for popping bottles around here. I leave that to Julian. But it was just kind of nice to notice that we are getting the nod from a lot of people that, say, 2 years ago would have passed on this opportunity. And also, we didn't take it personally. We weren't like, oh, you don't want to be on our show? Well, then we never want to talk to you. We always leave the lines of communication open. And, I'm sure there's someone we're talking to now that's going to say no for the next 2 years. And then finally, we'll get Barack Obama here sitting down. Stranger things have happened. So that's just a little bit of a note on persistence and patience. And the other thing I just want to talk about before I get to your questions is pitching. As Daniel Priestley says, to become a key person of influence, you have to be pitching. Even Richard Branson pitches. And so you think that once you've made it, you don't have to pitch anymore. But I had to pitch Ito for this moving conversation, and I have a great relationship with Ito. We've made some amazing content together. I consider him a friend. But, it's a new format, a new idea, and I had to really tell him how we were going to do it. I had to show him how we were going to do it. I had to pose how it was going to be different. And I really had to sell him on that idea. And I pitch every single day a new idea to a new person. And on the flip side of that, I had to pitch it to everybody here. And I had to pitch it to Julian, to Luis, to even myself that it was a good idea until everyone's like, okay, yeah, let's do this. So you honestly always need to be pitching a new idea to other people, to yourself. And the day you stop pitching is the day you die. So just a thought there as far as your own pitch. What are you pitching now? What should you be pitching in all aspects of your life? Could be a new friend, could be a business idea, could be something to yourself. Maybe you're going to pitch yourself on a new way of eating differently or having a diet. But those were some of the things that just that came to me today. Tomorrow on the show, we have Marianne Williamson. So excited to have her on. She has a super amazing way of looking at life and finding ways that we can empower ourselves. I just watched a clip of her hanging out with Oprah. Do I have to say anything more? If you roll with Oprah, that's pretty strong. So if you're an Academy member, submit your questions for her. I'll have her on the show tomorrow. Super excited. And the week just keeps going. We got a focus group here on Friday. There'll be 25 people here. I think this one's booked up, but we got our last one of the year on December 11th. So if you're an Academy member, book that. And there's meetups happening around the world. I think we've got Toronto, Atlanta tonight, New York's coming up, and of course here at the studio. So book those in. Let's get to the questions. This is the fun part. Got these hot off the Academy. Mike Larocque, one of my favorite members in the Academy. He's been here at the studio for the focus group 2-3 times now. Great to have him. He says, Brian, what are some good examples of bringing value to a mentor, not just a cup of coffee? Great question, Mike. Really, really good question. A lot of people really question the value they have for a mentor. And I did this up until my 30s. I was always thinking, why would someone successful, for example, in banking in the city, who's way ahead of me, a managing director, running his own group, running his whole area of a bank, be interested in what I bring to the table? Because I always thought that I wouldn't bring anything of value. But if you flip it to the other side, a mentor is looking for something to get them excited. They're looking for that spark in your eye that reminds them of themselves, that reminds them that there's still hope and there's youth and there's excitement in the world. And you can also show them a new excitement for their own life and for their own craft. And by them teaching you their craft, they actually might re-fall in love with what they're doing. And I've seen this before when I've trained with black belt instructors in jiu-jitsu. If I come in with real interesting questions, or I've been thinking about something, or I challenge them on how to put on a submission, if they can do it this way. I saw this guy in the UFC, put on something, how does that work? They really get excited by that. And I've seen it happen for myself. Perfect example is Olive, New York Real. She comes to me and she's like, Brian, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that. I just want to help her. She makes me excited about what we're doing here. So never think you don't provide value. You provide value in your spirit, in the way you ask questions, in the different perspectives you can bring to them. And again, just making them feel like they're giving back and they have a purpose and they can tell their friends, oh, I got this really, really fascinating young man. His name's Mike Larocque. He's super positive. He's running his own business. He's got a great perspective on life. Just came back from a fantastic experience in the north of England. And I like being around him. He shows me what I was like when I was 20 years younger. And I love spending time with him. So you always have value, and I did a webinar on this, how to find a mentor. If you're an Academy member, you can click that very easily and watch it. I talk about people like Dan Pena. Why would he want to spend time with me, come to the Ritz and do a full day at the Ritz today? We actually walked by the Ritz today, and I was showing Ito where we did the seminar with Dan. Why would Dan want to do that? Well, he sees something that excites him. He wants to learn something from us. Maybe he can learn something about media or about publishing things on your own or find a new angle of doing things that he might not know. So you have a lot more value than you think you do. Back to Daniel Priestley, you have IP that you don't even know you have. So list out the things that you have or that you're good at, and trust me, those will be of value to a mentor. So I hope that answers your question. Julian. He says, hi, Brian, your favorite Parisian here. First time on Real Talk. He's got a question for me. I received a video from Julian on the private Facebook page. He's this fascinating artist, musician, introducing himself from Paris. He's got lots of ideas, but he wants to find a way to turn his passion and his creativity into a business. I was so excited to see him there. But I also wanted to say to Julian, and just say in general to people on the Academy and everywhere, my thoughts on what happened in Paris last weekend. It was shocking to hear about. I thought for a long time about living in Paris, say 10 years ago. It was always my American dream to go there. I've always been fascinated with the city. I shot a short film in that city with my main girl, Mariana. It was actually one of our first dates. I took her to Paris and we shot a short movie, like a Bond type movie. You can see it on YouTube. And so I always have a special relationship with Paris. I've also been in cities where, some bad things have happened, some terrorist actions. I was in New York City for 9/11. I was in London for 7/7, I think they called it, where, the bombs went off on the bus and on the tubes. So when I see things like that happen, my first reaction, honestly, is to be quiet. And I want to listen and I want to process it. What I don't want to do is belittle the people that are dealing with that event by making it a media event for myself. And so we consciously didn't release a video or a post on that for London Real because honestly, I want to let the authorities do what they have to do, let the people that grieve do what they want to do, and then get all the information ourselves before we make a comment on it. But my heart goes out to you. And to all the things that are happening. There's such an intense media focus on Paris right now that it's an uncomfortable place to be, I believe, with everyone looking at you. And I felt this in New York City after 9/11. I also felt that I got too much media in my head because it was on the news all the time, where I had to shut it off because you get desensitized to it all and everyone wants to talk to you about it all the time. And at some point you just want to live your life. And so I like to kind of respect the people. And I'm always questioning the media sources we get because they want us to watch more media about it. And so when an incident happens, the tendency of any media is to rehash it 10 times over, to make it 10 times bigger than it is, to introduce plot lines to keep you interested. And I just don't trust the news. And so I want to send out my thoughts to you, especially Academy members there, because they're part of our tribe and family. So to you, Julian, thank you for posting. One of our members, Chris, posted numbers for the embassies. I really appreciate that. And to send our thoughts out to you. I've been through this. You will be stronger by going through it. And it's just something we need to process and think about ways that we can improve this in the future. There's no need for that to happen to anyone. And I think it's all about opening a conversation and talking and finding different ways. So lots of love out to you on that, Julian. I'll post something next week when I've had more time to process it. But I just don't want to react in the wrong way until I know everything that happened. And I think that usually takes a little while to cycle through. So much love to you, Julian. And thanks for watching us there. Thanks for joining us on Real Talk. Next question for John Henry Gers. He says, what are your thoughts on mindsets? Have you thought of doing a webinar on how to change your mindset, right ones versus ones that don't serve you? How do you get rid of one you've had for years now that sabotages yourself? Had any yourself? Yes, hugely. When I was in the banking world, I had such a terrible mindset because, as Ido Portal would say, my dogma was wrong. My dogma was when Brian makes all the money in the world, he will be happy and life will make sense. And I followed that dogma, and I had methods of achieving it, and I had goals all around that. But one day I woke up and realized that everything I had built my life around was wrong, and that the theories I had were actually not even based on reality, but were based on something that I constructed through my brain, through being in America, through all the media inputs, watching Wall Street, watching this. And when you wake up and realize that your dogma is wrong, as Ida would say, it's a very bad day. And some people call this a midlife crisis. Some people call this learning at a rate you're not accustomed to. And this happens very often in kind of a psychedelic experience when you're shown a new reality that just doesn't compute, and it's really hard to understand. So yes, I've been in mindsets where I'm belittling myself, telling myself that I'm only good for one thing, that I could never start something new like this, that I have no skills to bring to the table, that I have no IP, that I have nothing I could provide a mentor. And I find that a lot of that comes from just a low self-esteem image and you just really having the wrong dialogue in your head. So if you want to change your mindset, I would do a few things. First of all, upgrade your peer group. Get around a new group of people that are open to you changing yourself for the positive and talk about ideas all the time. Stop talking about people, stop talking about events. It's another reason I don't like to make comments on things that happen in other places. Let's talk about ideas. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about movement. Let's talk about getting a mentor. Let's talk about these things. That will already help your self-talk because you'll be thinking about better ideas. Take chances. Get uncomfortable. Go to where the fear is. I was very fearful today about not being in control, but we went ahead and did it, and we learned so much today, a huge learning curve that will pay off in other ways so much better. And spend some time quietly with yourself, whether that's meditation or being mindful or taking time off from social media, taking time out from ways of keeping the monkey brain busy. I'm guilty of it myself, always wanting to be plugged into something so I don't have to think about my own self and my own goals. So I think that's a great start, John. Tell me how that works out for you. I will think about doing an episode that really talks about mindset shift, and I'm sure we've had some guests on in the past that have done it, but more to you back on that. All right, rolling through. If you want to leave us a question, go to London Real Academy, click on Real Talk, leave me one in the comments below. Charlotte Mayer says, any advice on staying focused and chunking down goals to the micro, like you mentioned you do yourself? Yes. Whiteboard it. If you come into the war room, as we call the next room here, and you'll be here on the focus group on Friday, people have come in here this week and they're like, what happened in here? It's like graffiti in a New York subway in 1975. It's crazy. There are ideas splattered all over the wall because when we have something, we write it down. And for me, once I write it down, it's next action item. That's David Allen, our former guest here, getting things done. So once I stick it on the whiteboard, it's not going anywhere. And then what's the next action step? What are we doing next? That's really, in my mind, a great way to do that. Then when you have your week in review, you look at your whiteboard. What's still up there? Okay, what's the next action item? Is it done? Then we erase it. So you have a constant view of what you need to get done. I got things on my whiteboard that have been up there for 4 months, and I'm embarrassed they're still there. And so trust me, on Monday morning, I want to do something that gets them off the board, and that's my next action item. So that's what I would say. Brain sweep, mind dump, whatever you call it, get all of your ideas out on a board where multiple people can see them, and then take the next action item, and that's the best way to go. Next question. Jan Kaiser says, hey Brian, thanks for creating this wonderful academy. Thank you for making it so much fun, giving me these questions. Don't make me go on about it. I love doing this. My question for you is whether you visualize to achieve your goals, and how do you do this? Great question. My mom, when I was 10, had me visualize things, had me see myself doing things. So I think I've always done that a little bit. What I do lately is the affirmations. When I say those in the morning, I really say it as if it's done. I am proud of the 10,000 members of the London Real Academy who get value from London Real every day, who connect with their peers around the world, who achieve their goals, who find their mentors. I say it as if it's already happened. So I'm inherently visualizing it. I'm proud of London Real achieving 1 billion views on YouTube. I'm so happy we finally got our platinum button. These kind of things are a way that I not only visualize it, I say it as if it already happened. And this is something I think I talk about in How to Set, Track, and Achieve Your Goals webinar, about how to turn those goals into affirmations. And that's one thing I learned from Dan Pena. For every goal, he has an affirmation. I think he has 22 right now. I probably have 17 in the morning, and they're varied in many ways. So turn it into an affirmation, best way to visualize it. This is from Jiri Katarabek. He says, my question is about knowing your value and the process behind putting a price on it. This is a great question. A lot of people that are creative struggle on making business out of their creativity. We're still learning here. And Jiri says, for example, how did you decide this is what I will charge for my mentoring? To know that without devaluing your self-worth and your free time or setting the price too high or too low? Great question. And again, if I was to quote one of my mentors, Dan Pena, I would say, test it. That's what Dan always says. Test it. I would say that is a great start, testing your value. And the other part is knowing the value of your time. There's a great black belt jiu-jitsu instructor named John Danaher in New York. He trains under Renzo Gracie. And one of my good friends used to train with him. And he always used to say, don't waste my time. He said, I can always get more money, but I can't get more time. So you need to know what your time is worth. And if you have a rough idea what that hour is, what that day is worth, then you'll always price it accordingly. And that's always super important. So that's one thing to know. And the other thing to know is the value and the price that you put on. And that, I think, the market decides a lot of times. And so I remember the first time that I changed jobs in the banking community, and I think I was shopping around to a few headhunters, and they said, Brian, what will it take for you to come to Chicago and trade this book? And I think I tripled my salary. And I told the headhunter, and he came back a week later and said, okay, they want to interview you. So I was like, what? But I wouldn't have known that without testing the market, and I wouldn't have been able to do that by valuing it myself. So I think you need to test the market and put something that's a high price out there and seeing if there are people that want it, finding your real customers. Also, you need to be oversubscribed, and this is a Daniel Priestley concept that says if you're a key person of influence and you offer something unique, then people will pay and will oversubscribe for your service. And that is by setting up a product that's amazing and something that only you can deliver. And I think every single member on the Academy can do that, whether you're Candy White out there in Vancouver, or you're Olive in New York, or MJ in Toronto. I think you can all create a product that is specific to you, that only you can create and deliver. And by doing that, you can choose the price within reason, and that will be oversubscribed. And by doing that, I think you will have enough money that you can then be creative and move on. And I'm not talking about crazy stuff. I don't think you need to throw things out for millions of dollars and try to find that one, I don't know, Saudi prince that wants your services. I don't know. But that still means pricing your time as a premium, and I think people respond to that. You get better customers by doing that. And in the end, everything's better if you put a premium on your services. So try it, test it, but again, you have to build yourself up, become a KPI. Back to my Imogen Heap reference 2 years ago, I wasn't as much of a KPI as I am now, or London Real wasn't. So keep building yourself up, which is a lot of fun. And you partner with the right people. Again, the pitch, publish, partnership, product model, and then you will get there, and then you can charge more for your services. You'll have more fun. Again, I'm a big fan of what Daniel Priestley says about that. If you're interested more in KPI, there's a group on the Academy, KPI, run by MJ from Toronto. It's amazing. Great discussions going on. Great ways to really push yourself. So go check that out. By the way, the Academy is lightning fast right now. It's amazing. The activity feed is bustling. The groups are jamming. You can leave questions from me here, comments under the episodes. Also, you can book all of your focus groups. And we've got a new search function where you can search members by location, by goals, by interest, so you can find your accountability buddies and get back to Nura now. So if you haven't done that, do that tonight. Go into the search function, find those people. We're still making improvements to it, so watch this space. It's happening right now. All right, a few more questions, and I'm gonna cut this off. Peter, Paladin says, Dan Pena talks about the 2 bank accounts in life. Dan Pena, Dan, you're getting a lot of airtime tonight, so you can thank me later. Two of the accounts, the financial and the emotional. How do you manage the latter? A lot of events in life, family, friends, success can all bring you joy, but can also drain you by the very nature of giving. So how do you fill it? The power of no. And this is becoming a theme. 2 episodes, we talked about saying no. For the past 3 days, I've been going mental in my brain, quite honestly, trying to prepare for Imogen Heap, get this whole thing set up with Ito, also to prepare mentally for doing an interview on the fly, walking around the city. I posted a page earlier where I literally had notes taped to my arm underneath my sleeve, but I didn't want Ito to see that. And I've got an interview tomorrow with Marianne Williamson. I want to be prepared for that. So I've pretty much said no to everything else in my life for 3 days. So if you tried to contact me or send me a message or send me an email, I haven't replied to you, because I've said, okay, no to you, because this is now important to me. And I think that's important in all aspects of your life, including the emotional. And sometimes you need to say no to people. And guess what? Everything's going to be okay. And if a good friend of yours doesn't get back to you for a week, they still will be a good friend of yours. If they're a really good friend, they'll know you're concentrating on something important, and they'll leave you alone. So just be able to say no. I think it's a great way to manage your emotional bank account. So many times people get tracked down with these feelings of guilt and shame, which I talked about on Real Talk number 3. Go check that out at the end of that episode. I don't like those emotions. I don't play those emotions. If you are, you're probably holding yourself back. And back to your question, John, mindset issues. You need to make your own decisions emotionally. And that means make the ones that work out for you, work out for your future, what's in your best interest. Don't do things because you feel guilty. Don't do things because you feel shameful. And keep that emotional bank account rich. It should include a small number of great peers that constantly add value to your life. That's it. There are probably 3 people right now. You can go to your text messages. Try this exercise. Pull up your phone right now. Go through the last 15 text messages on your phone. I do this all the time. Those are the people that are in your life. If you're not texting them on a regular basis, I would say they're probably not that important to you. This is my test. And go through those people. How many of them are adding value? Not the same value, not hang out when they have nothing better to do. How many of them are adding value to your life? The ones that aren't, delete their number now. Just delete them, or delete 3 of them. And try living your life without them for the next 2 weeks. I guarantee you it will get better. And if not, you're going to grow and grow through it, and you're going to find someone else that replaces that. I think it's a great exercise, great for the emotional bank account. When you get done with the Dan Pena seminar, you come back and it's time to cut out bad business partners, cut out bad relationships, and that's why a lot of people get divorced and change their businesses when they come back from an experience like that. So that's what I would say about that. And just keep people with great energy around you. That's it. My family at home, super supportive. This morning, we had a wardrobe malfunction, and I needed her to get a black V-neck shirt from our place in Belsize down to Hyde Park in a matter of 30 minutes. She didn't ask why. She didn't say, Brian, I gave you one this morning that you left on the tube on the way to the photo shoot, to the video shoot. Why did you do that? I'm busy. No, she brought it because she knew this was super important to me, and she's super supportive. So have people like that around in your life that when you ask them for help, they don't, they say yes. They don't say, oh, I'm busy, or can you do this for me? They just say yes. So get positive people in your life. One more question left, and then we're going to call this. It is 1 year since the upload of Dan Pena episode from Guthrie Castle. Will there be a follow-up episode featuring the 2 of you to review what has taken place in the last year? That's a good question. Ask Dan Pena. If Dan wants to come back here and talk to me, hit him up on Twitter, tell him on Facebook, tell him to pitch me. That's how he first came to this show almost 2 years ago. But yeah, it's up to Dan. He can talk to me. I think it would be good to catch up with him at some point and see where we're at, the 2 of us. But it would be a very interesting episode. So talk to Dan, hit him up on Twitter, let him know what's up. Just finishing off, we just dropped the James Ketchell trailer on YouTube. Check it out, share it with your friends. And he's an amazing guy who has climbed Mount Everest, rode the Atlantic, and cycled 18,000 miles around the world. The only guy that has done all of those things. He just was rescued from the Indian Ocean while he rode across it with a guy that was having seizures. And so he had to deal with that while in a rowing boat. Amazing story. He knows how to break down a huge problem like rowing the Atlantic into small little bits. Great guy that knows how to get things done. So super happy with that. We got RJ Mitty coming up. We got James Rhodes, the classical pianist. We've got the crazy lineup from this week. It just keeps going. We're finishing this year really strong. I've got some surprise guests on next week. So if you want to watch them live in the studio, I'm not announcing them till Tuesday and Wednesday, but they will blow your minds. You can watch them live as an Academy member. Click on the link below. Go in. I'm not going to say beforehand. We're getting to the guest caliber now where I can't say beforehand because I think other media outlets will grab them. So I'm not doing an Ask Them Anything unless you're an Academy member, then you know who it is. So those are coming up. Super excited. We're finishing this year strong. Another exciting announcement coming in about 2 weeks about something we're doing starting in January. So more on that and on the summit next year, March 12th. Lots of things happening. If you're an Academy member, take this time now, go to the Academy, search it, find an accountability buddy. Make it happen. I know a lot of you haven't done that. Also, post your 3-minute vlog video on the private Facebook group. It's simple. Take your camera, say, hi, I'm this person. We have the most fascinating people in there. I met Julian from Paris. We've got a guy from Finland who's in Saudi Arabia. We've got people all around the world. I got my man Sergio in San Francisco posting videos of him doing parallel bar work. We got Chris, my favorite Marine, talking about things that he does with his business and his YouTube channel. There's so much positive energy. It's incredible. And if you're not an Academy member, I don't know what's wrong with you. Seriously, something must be wrong with your head. It's the greatest organization of people. The value is sick. It's really what I live for, is this whole interaction. So there you go. This is Tribe Talk, episode 4. Next week, we have a special guest. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about dating. It's going to be the first time I've had a guest here during Real Talk. She's a very interesting lady. You might be able to guess who it is if you've watched our show before, but I'm super excited to expand this format. Tell me if you're liking this. Forward it to a friend. Leave your comments below if you're watching this on YouTube for your questions for next week. And that's it. I'm Brian Rose, and I'm out of here.